Hello! Welcome back to another Dream SMP theory. This one is all about the egg, and I'm super excited for it. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for watching my last video and giving me your theories and subscribing. It means a lot, and reading everything that you all had to say about the stuff and the Dream SMP as a whole was super interesting. So if you ever want to read different takes or ideas on the theories in these videos, or maybe you have your own, go to the comments. I'm also planning on making a Discord for theories thanks to a comment suggestion in the future, so be on the lookout for that. Now, let's get into the theory. The egg, one of the most unexpected and craziest plot lines on the lore of the Dream SMP in my opinion, but as the egg storyline starts to become much more center stage, I think it's time we look at this thing and try to understand what the heck is going on with it. Even though I can't answer all the questions about it, I might as well try, right? So let's start with my main theory about the egg, that the egg's main weakness is attachment. Now, at the end of season 2, Dream gave a big spiel about attachment and how it makes the server what it is and all that.
The cause of all the war, of everything, was attachment, right? Your attachment to the disc, your attachment to Henry, to pets, to friends, to land, to countries, to items, right?
Then he goes on to explain how he realized he had to cut all of his attachments to everything he cared about in order to control others.
I don't want to be controlled, so I cut everything. I lost everything. But
How do you not
I had
hurt?
to lose everything. I had to lose everything to gain everything.
But I want you to notice the exact words he says here. Quote, "I don't want to be controlled, so I cut everything. I lost everything." End quote. To me, I have a feeling this is actually one of the most ironic things ever said on this server, and here's why. Let's start with the history of the egg. We know from the Masquerade Tales from the SMP that the egg has seemingly been around for a while. I saw someone on Twitter saying that the mansion kind of looked like an older version of the Badlands mansion that Bad and Skeppy currently live in, which would mean that the egg has been there, underground and waiting to be dug up for a long time. In the present, a group of people dug the egg up at one point and slowly started getting corrupted by it. Eventually, they were able to block off the egg, but it ended up trapping Skeppy inside, turning him red and very different from the Skeppy we know. This was kind of the beginning of the egg plotline. After this, the egg slowly started turning more people until it had a variety of SMP members under its control, and that's kind of where we are now. The current members of the egg pyre, or the people controlled by the egg, include BadBoyhalo, Ant Frost, Skeppy, Puns, and potentially Ponk as well, but not really as corrupted as the rest. BadBoyhalo was the first to be infected by the egg after Skeppy, even though he had been opposed to it for some time. This is the first point about the egg disliking attachment thing I noticed. Skeppy and Bad are best friends, and they have attachment to each other. Even Dream had a cage for Skeppy as the one thing that Bad was attached to. When Bad had Skeppy, the egg couldn't really overtake him very well, and Bad was pretty good at going against it and trying to stop it from existing. But when Skeppy was corrupted, Bad pretty much lost everything, including his attachment, and Skeppy was the one he cared so much about, who was now gone. After this, it was so much easier for Bad to be corrupted by the egg, and he got corrupted and never turned back, and that's been the Bad we've seen since then. But this isn't the only instance we see attachment to something or someone not allowing the egg to be as strong. When Sam was corrupted by the egg after he dropped onto it, Puffy and Tommy took Sam back to his house to see Fran, his dog, the thing he's attached to and loves. After he hung out with Fran for a bit, Sam went completely back to normal and was actually able to burn a ton of the blood vines and talk about how evil they are in the following streams. So clearly, seeing Fran had an impact on him and allowed him to break free of the egg's control, which is something we hadn't really seen before. Furthermore, Tommy isn't affected by the egg at all, and Tubbo is slightly affected by it. Apparently, it talks to him and says pretty mean things to him, but this seems to imply that these two have strong attachments, as neither of them get corrupted by the egg. Things that ground them and allow them to stay connected to the real world, and not be turned evil by the egg. Obviously, these attachments would be the discs for Tommy that he fought 2 seasons for, and maybe Snowchester or Tommy himself for Tubbo, as he's pretty attached to a lot of things in general. The people who've been corrupted fully by the egg didn't have many attachments, or in Bad's case, they lost those attachments, which explains why they were taken over so much more easily than the other people in the server. We can even take a look at Tales from the SMP to further this theory idea. In the Masquerade episode, we learn that the egg is located in a secret room in Sir Billiam's mansion, and that it was controlling people all night and causing them to kill each other. We also learn that Sir Billiam considers himself the protector of the egg, and he's pretty much going to do anything for it. Now, Sir Billiam also tells Karl that the egg consumes poor people, and Billiam criticizes people who aren't billionaires all night, kind of leading up to this plot twist.
So I renovated the mansion I built around it, and in my spare time, I feed poor people to the egg. The egg demands poor people as nourishment.
And maybe this is because these poor people that the egg is taking over don't have as much money, so they have less material things to be attached to in a sense, so controlling them or consuming them might be a lot easier for the egg to do. Since the more attachment someone has to something or someone, the harder it is for the egg to take it in its grasp. Now, this would make a lot of sense, and it seems this idea of attachment is meant to be a big theme in Season 3, if this is the case. And this brings me back to Dream. Remember what he said in the Season 2 finale? Quote, "I don't want to be controlled, so I cut everything, I lost everything." End quote. Now, looking at it from this perspective, this quote means something different. If this theory is true and the egg can only affect people the less attachment they have, well, then Dream will be controlled, and cutting this attachment would actually be his downfall and not what allows him to win. If Dream escapes prison or the egg reaches him somehow, it would be able to control and corrupt him so quickly. Dream has nothing to ground him or keep him away from the egg's power. He lost all his friends, he lost his house, he even lost his weapons because he didn't want this attachment. Dream has nothing and nobody. What will happen when Dream and the egg finally meet? Well, I have a feeling it won't be good, but that's for another day. To finish off today, let's talk about a few questions the egg and this plotline overall still raise and do our best to kind of answer them, or at least understand them a little bit better and bring in some more evidence. First of all, a pretty big question, where did this egg even come from? Now, as I mentioned before, in the Tales from the SMP, we know the egg has seemingly been there for a while now, but why? And how? Obviously, there's no real way to know this, but it could definitely have something to do with Karl's time traveling or some other thing we don't know about yet. To be honest, it's really up in the air, but we know that the egg doesn't seem to activate until someone finds it, as the egg has seemingly been around since the beginning of the server, if the Tales from the SMP from the past is true, but only started infecting people and spreading around the server after it was found by Bad and his friends. So that seems like something to keep in mind. Now, based off of that question, we can ask, what is inside of this egg? It's an egg, so it'll hatch one day, and whatever is inside of it probably isn't too great. Fundy has mentioned in the past it might have something to do with dreamins before, which is like a whole nother thing we can talk about, so we should be on the lookout for that, but at the moment I don't think there's any concrete evidence or potential to understand what will hatch out of this thing, but let's just be sure it's going to be insane when it finally does hatch. This plotline has been going on for months now, so I'm excited to see. However, we do have a couple of clues, considering this magical egg can also talk. Most times someone visits the egg, it speaks to them in reverse English and says some really bizarre things, but here are some of the most notable ones I want to talk about. Once Bad visited the egg, and it told him to kill the boy. Tommy must die. It also said, I will give you what your heart's desire. I will give you what you want.
I will give you your heart's desire. I will give you what you want.
And I know all, I see it all, I am all.
I know all. I see all.
Also notable is what the egg said to Ranboo the last time he visited. Traitor. You will betray. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust yourself. Now, all of these quotes seem pretty notable, so let's go through them quickly. First, we see that the egg wants to kill Tommy. Now, we know Tommy isn't affected by the egg, and the egg doesn't seem to be able to kill him, considering when anyone else breaks a piece of the egg, it hurts them and harms them, but when Tommy breaks a piece of the egg, it didn't do anything to him. So maybe the egg wants bad to do what it can't and kill Tommy? But the question that we really want to know about here is why? Why would the egg want to kill Tommy specifically? What does Tommy have against the egg that other people don't? And is Tommy the one person who has the potential to maybe end the egg's reign of terror? This also makes me wonder about the egg's connection to Dream, considering Dream wants the same thing, control and power over the server, but the one thing he won't do to get there is kill Tommy. It also seems like Dream and the egg have the same end goal, but different approaches. Dream wants people to gain attachments, which he then takes and controls, in turn which takes control of them and the server. The egg wants people to lose attachment, so that it can control and take over their minds easier and spread and eventually run the server. So that's definitely something to think about, as Dream and the egg have some very weird connections and weird wants that we need to look at, but the fact that the egg wants to kill Tommy and Dream doesn't seems really odd to me. The other quotes Bad hears from the egg seem pretty important, and seem to lay out that the egg tries to pull people in by telling them it will give them what they want. But the egg also says that it knows, sees, and is all. This quote ties into what the egg told Ranboo about the fact he couldn't trust himself. Somehow, the egg knows everything going on the server, even the characters' personal lives and what's going on with them. Ranboo was clearly shocked when he learned that the egg told him not to trust himself, as Ranboo's the only person that knows that he enderwalks, and the only person who should be aware that he can't trust himself. This seems pretty significant, and maybe it means that whatever is in this egg is much more powerful and all-seeing than anyone who might attempt to take it down. So if the egg is successful in its plans, I do believe that things will go downhill for the server very quickly. But that's pretty much all I've got for you today, just thinking about the egg and attachment and kind of all the stuff relating to the egg today, because there's a lot we need to think about, and I think the egg is going to start playing an even bigger role in all of the lore going on to start off season 3, so we should definitely be on the lookout and see what goes on. But anyway, there's a lot of information in this video that doesn't have too many answers and questions that still need answering, so again, feel free to leave your theories on all of this in the comments. Also, make sure to check out these two TikTokers. They provided me with a lot of information and ideas for this theories and all their videos that they make, and they have really good quick SMP recaps and theories I think you should check out, as obviously a lot of people stream all the time, so things can get confusing. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It would mean a lot, and I have a lot more theory ideas that you should definitely be looking out for in the future. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!